Yes, Pradeep, now you can hear you.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Agnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Chalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे To be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 15, verse 46. No chet pramattam asadindriyavajisuta nitvodpatham vishayadasyushu nikshipanti te dasya va sahaya sutam mamum tamondhe samsara kopa uru mrityu bhaye kshipanti. Otherwise, if one does not take shelter of Achyuta and Baladeva, then the senses acting as the horses and the intelligence acting as the driver, both being prone to material contamination, inattentively bring the body, which acts as the chariot, to the path of sense gratification. So very, very important. If one does not take shelter of Achyuta and Baladeva. So in the previous verse yesterday we discussed, saying that one has to surrender to Guru and Krishna and follow Guru's instructions, and then as soon as he does that, then he gets the mercy of Krishna, Achyuta, and as soon as we get the mercy of Achyuta, we get spiritual strength from Balarama. Now it happens automatically. We don't know that, okay, now Guru please, then Krishna has released mercy, then Baladev is given spiritual strength. We won't be able to make out the difference. It happens instantly, automatically, when one surrenders to Guru and follows his instructions. So we have to always remember this. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado. And next line is not Yasya prasadan. When we are doing Mangalarti, I see devotees chanting Yasya prasadan nagati kutopi, meaning then the whole meaning is gone. And first line says Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado. By who prasada Bhagavan is pleased, or if Guru is pleased, then Krishna is pleased. Second line is Yasya aprasadan, meaning if Guru is not pleased, aprasadan. Prasadan means pleased, aprasadam means not pleased. Yasya prasadan, Yasya aprasadan. So when we are singing, it should be Yasya prasadan, Yasya. You do dhirga on ya, Yasya prasadan, na gati kutopi. Nagati, there is no other hope, there is no other destination, there is no other, nothing else but the mercy of Guru. So one gets spiritual strength. So if one does not take shelter of Krishna and Balaram, then what will happen? The senses will drive us on the path of sense gratification. Senses, then intelligence, both are materially contaminated. Then they inattentively bring the body to the path of sense gratification. So we are simply driven on the path of sense gratification. Actually, if we strictly follow these things, sense gratification is not a botheration, because our mind doesn't turn towards it, because we don't have time. Which is why Prabhupada used to say engage 24 hours in devotional service. Now, what does this mean for all devotees who are working? Means basically don't keep your head empty. Either fill it with work or fill it with Krishna. So which means at least as a first stage, you don't have time or space for sense gratification. First victory. Second victory is the amount of space that the work is taking in our mind has to gradually reduce, and that will happen with Vanaprastha. But it can also reduce before if our absorption in work is not so much. Meaning, okay, we might put amount of time in work, but that doesn't mean that we should get absorbed in our work. Meaning, as soon as you finish work, switch off. Switch off mind from that. Unfortunately, what happens is, at least, I used to experience this also. We are now worried about next. Okay, something has to be, some delivery is there, something has to be done, blah, blah, and the mind starts going on this. Just say, stop it. Next, whenever I sit at work, I will think about it. I don't have to think about it now. This is time for Krishna. Which is why, we have to somehow force ourselves to create a good schedule. Prabhupada writes somewhere saying that one has to mold their life. Mold their life. This word mold is meaning making adjustments, making changes. Mold life in such a way that we can completely use it in Krishna consciousness. So, for example, you finish work at 6 o'clock, then no time, no relaxation time. Because family also along with you will be doing devotion, so it's easy. And what will anyway this so-called entertainment give us? Nothing. Waste of time. And it will only take us away from Krishna. Again, these things, for those it is difficult, it's okay. You take your own time and path. For those it's not difficult, please adopt it. Please adopt it. And which is the reason, why we are we are connected with a center temple. We should take up services. During the week also we have to take up services, because what will happen? Then it will force us to commit time for Krishna. Force. Some scheduled service. Okay, once in a while I know Wednesday I'm going to log off early. Okay. So some things like this, these are important, because otherwise, our senses will simply go on the path of sense gratification. Okay, bahut, very tired. Let me see some TV. Let me see some news. All this is not required. So then, if we simply engage all the time in Krishna consciousness or engage our mind at work, then there is no sense gratification. When one is thus attracted again by the rogues of Vishaya, Vishaya chadiya kabe shuddha hobe man. Narottam Das Thakur sings. Vishaya chadiya kabe shuddha hobe man. This Vishaya, we have to give up this Vishaya, material thoughts. Prabhupada here is saying eating, sleeping, mating. These are rogues. Rogues means thieves. The horses and chariot driver are thrown into the blinding dark well of material existence. Blinding dark well. Graham anda kupam. Prahlad Maharaj says. Is Graham anda kupam. Family life is a dark well. Of course, this is not for devotees. It's for non-devotees. And one is again put into a dangerous and extremely fearful situation of repeated birth and death. But unfortunately, I don't think people think that repeated birth and death is dangerous and fearful. They're happy. Yeah, okay, this is what it is. But once we come into Krishna consciousness, we understand how dangerous it is. It might not be fearful, but at least it is dangerous. Fearful also because, anytime we might go away from Krishna. So that greatest fear is always there, but it's dangerous. Padam padam yad vipadam. So Prabhupada is writing, without the protection of Gaur Nitai, one cannot get out of the dark well of ignorance. So just this verse itself is so heavy, and the solution is just simply taking protection, shelter of Gaur Nitai. This is indicated here by the word no chet, which means that one will always remain in the no chet means otherwise. Otherwise, one will always remain in the dark well of material existence. The living entity must get strength from Nitai Gaura or Krishna Balaram. Without the mercy of Nitai Gaura, there is no way to come out of this dark well of ignorance. So what should we do to get the mercy of Nitai Gaur? What should we do? What should we do to get their mercy?
Please, Guru.
Yeah, we just discussed the whole verse. Previous verse was about that only. Please, Guru. Simply, I keep repeating, asking questions this way, that way to see if devotees have understood that concept. So we have to follow surrender to Guru, follow the instructions of Guru. Then automatically Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna is pleased, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is pleased, Balaram is pleased, Nityananda Prabhu is pleased. And we get their mercy. And we come out of the dark well of ignorance. Otherwise, not possible. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityanandau Sahodito, Gaudodaya Pushpavantau, Chitrau Shandau Tamonado. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Shri Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, who are like the sun and the moon. They have arisen simultaneously on the horizon of Gauda to dissipate the darkness of ignorance and thus wonderfully bestow benediction upon all. Wonderfully. Wonderfully means beyond our imagination. It's a wonder. It's a wonder. Something special. This material world is a dark well of ignorance. Actually, this is so wonderful. Actually, if we just think, look back at our own lives, how things have changed for most of us, right? Most of us, at least those who have been practicing Krishna consciousness for some time, things have really changed. We would never have thought that we would become like this in our life. In fact, my mother still keeps telling me, she thinks that it's a bad development in my life, Krishna consciousness. And so she says, you are better that way. And she maybe not completely understands the glory of Krishna consciousness. But our lives have changed. So it's wonderful, and it's a wonderful benediction. This material world is a dark well of ignorance. The fallen soul in this dark well must take shelter with the lotus feet of Gaurnitai, for thus he can easily emerge from material existence. Without their strength, simply attempting to get out of the clutches of matter by speculative knowledge will be insufficient. Actually, today morning I was hearing one lecture. Prabhupada was saying that one of the things, very important things, the qualities of a Brahmana, Gnanam Vijnanam, Astikyam. So, Prabhupada was saying that without this Vijnanam, meaning applying the knowledge that we hear, it's useless. Knowledge is useless. So, this is speculative knowledge. Meaning simply we will have some knowledge, we might just talk about it, speculate about it, but we won't follow it. Unless we follow it, we don't know exactly how it works. We don't know exactly what it means. It's very important actually. That is why we have to try and implement everything that we hear. We have to try and implement it in our life. Like some things may be more easily adoptable, some things might be more difficult. For example, for devotees who are like really working late, etc., getting up early in the morning might be tough. But that doesn't mean that we will just give up on that hope, on that desire. So we should somehow just keep praying, begging for mercy, saying that, I want to get up. Yesterday, Arun Prabhu was asking one question, which was more to clarify that previously I had said, saying that don't ask anything from Krishna. I'm clarifying, don't ask anything material from Krishna. We should obviously ask everything spiritual because it's not in our hands. We are not strong enough, powerful enough to achieve anything. We don't have sufficient power to even digest the food we eat. That also happens only by the mercy of Krishna. So spiritual desires, we should have spiritual desires. We should develop more and more desires. We should develop more and more greed to progress spiritually. Only then all the wonders we can experience. Every little thing actually, there's so many examples we can keep giving. If we desire, Krishna will make it happen. Even actually this decision to start Mangalarti, for us it was 3 years here. And then I was talking to one devotee and suddenly the devotee said, Prabhu, I think we should start doing Mangalarti. And it came more like an instruction to me. Meaning I felt that it was an instruction from Krishna. So immediately next 3-4 days, we just decided, and then uh, thankfully there were some devotees to take responsibility of making arrangements for Mangalarti, altar and Aarti and all that. So very quickly we started. Mm. So it is all a matter of desire. It's all a matter of desire. Some devotee will desire. Today, for example, today is Dwadashi, and then some devotees desire saying that Krishna should be offered some sweet also today because it is Dwadashi. So nice, today when I saw the bhoga that had come, I said, wow, very nice. So like this, if every devotee desires to please Krishna, then we will also experience progress in our life. Mm. Hmm. See, and training is very, very important. And training happens in person. Training cannot happen remotely. For example, I was telling something today in the kitchen saying that after the bhoga was done, I said, first all the plates, all the vessels of the Lord have to be washed before anybody honors prasadam. Now, this is a rule. Now, unfortunately, we might forget to tell these things in a general class or something like that. So I was telling, see, if we are serving Krishna together, then these things will automatically come to the mind and others will be able to learn. So these things are important. We have to, which is why, devotee association, surrender to Guru, all these are very, very important. Otherwise, we can just get dragged into sense gratification. Okay, 47. Pravrittam cha nivrittam cha dvividham karma vaidikam avartate pravrittena nivrittena shnute mrutam. This is similar to that pravrittim cha nivrittim cha. According to the Vedas, there are two kinds of activities, pravritti and nivritti. Pravritti activities involve raising oneself from a lower to a higher condition of materialistic life. See, very, very different definition Prabhupada has given. Normally, Prabhupada just says pravritti means engaging in material activities, but here he says involves raising oneself from a lower to a higher condition of materialistic life. So the whole world is running behind pravritti. Whereas nivritti means a cessation of material desire. Hmm. Through pravritti activities, one suffers from material entanglement, but by nivritti activities, one is purified and becomes fit to enjoy eternal blissful life. So one thing suddenly came to my mind. Whenever I'm reading something, some some random thoughts come. And this child is sitting right in front of me. Adrika, it was her birthday last Monday, and I was actually very, very happy when I saw that parents brought the child and they gave some gift to me on her birthday. And Mataji said that we want her to understand saying birthday doesn't mean to take, birthday means to give. So this is like from childhood teaching the children saying that it's not pravritti. We are not here for pravritti. And of course, when devotion is involved, then it goes beyond just simple nivritti. We are not just renouncing sense desires. We are actually doing things for the pleasure of Krishna, which then becomes transcendental. So it was very nice, actually. I was very happy when I saw that. Mm. Mm. So these things are important. So then one becomes purified by such activities, and they become fit to enjoy eternal blissful life. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, pravrittim cha nivrittim cha janana vidurasuraha. The asuras, non-devotees, cannot distinguish between pravritti and nivritti. Whatever they like, they do. I like this, so I do. That's it. This is convenient for me, so I do. They don't bother whether it is right or wrong. Such persons think themselves independent of the strong material nature, and therefore they are irresponsible and do not care to act piously. Human life is a matter of responsibility. Parents are responsible for their children. Elder adults are responsible for their elders also. And then along with all these grahastha responsibilities, we have our responsibility towards Krishna. We can't live irresponsibly. At least those who are not in devotion should at least act piously. Indeed, they do not distinguish between pious and impious activity, but asuras, and they don't know what is pious, what is impious. Bhakti, of course, does not depend on pious or impious activity. So we discussed this. Bhakti is independent. Bhakti doesn't depend on pious life, previous, past, prior pious life. One can come into bhakti even if he was the biggest asura. But that happens only by the association of great pure devotees. Otherwise, generally, somebody who has been more pious in their past life and this life, generally they tend to easily get the association of devotees. But really, bhakti is not dependent on any of this. Great devotees like Srila Prabhupada, they could change anybody. They could simply, there's one incident where most of you might know, in Hyderabad, when Prabhupada was here, there was one person who was a thief. So Prabhupada was wearing one gold watch, which somebody had gifted. I don't know whether it is gold plated or gold. So Prabhupada generally used to wear for some days and then give it off to somebody like that. So Prabhupada was wearing that watch, and that thief came and he sat right in front of Prabhupada, in front of Asasan. So he sat in front of Prabhupada and he's very, very, alert and alert in the class, while most devotees around him were like drowsing. He was alert because he wanted to see, what Prabhupada, what he is worn and what is the type of, whatever buckle or whatever, right, to take it off, this, that, and also he was very alert in the class. Then class got over, then everybody got up, waiting for prasadam. They all went, and this person was just sitting there in front of Prabhupada. And Prabhupada looked at him directly in his eyes and said, "You came to take this watch, right?" And he just removed it from his, wrist and just gave it, saying, "Take it." And subsequently, that person became a great devotee. Not only this, even in America, like black Americans who are like really, like almost like ruffians, rogues, gundas. Krishna, Prabhupada made such people also into devotees. So it is there, the power is there in pure devotees. They can do anything. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yatho bhakti radhokshaje ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. Supreme occupation, paradharma, is yato bhakti radhokshaje. Is that the paradharma is that by which one can attain to loving devotional service. Meaning bhakti. Such devotional service must be ahaituki apratihata, unmotivated, uninterrupted, in order to completely satisfy the self. Now, if it is motivated or it is interrupted, then it won't completely satisfy the self. We'll get some temporary satisfaction, or whenever we do bhakti, we get satisfaction, and then again break. Then again, next time we do bhakti, we get satisfaction. But when it is causeless, or there is no reason for doing bhakti except for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna, and when we do it continuously, then it completely satisfies the self. Then the self doesn't fall down to the material platform. Nonetheless, those who act piously have a better chance to become devotees. So Prabhupada is saying that, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukritino Arjuna. 4 kinds of pious men render devotional service unto me. One who takes to devotional service even with some material motive is considered pious. Because he has come to Krishna, he will gradually come to the stage of bhakti. See, Prabhupada is calling them also pious. Even if somebody has a material motive. This is very nice. I had not heard of this before. Mm. Punya doesn't just mean that, punya is also with material motive, is also punya. Of course, yeah, it's correct because people do karma kanda to go to heaven. Yeah, right. But if somebody comes to Krishna to do devotional service, even with some pious material desire, it's considered pious because he has come to Krishna, and he will gradually come to the stage of bhakti. Like I was explaining last week, saying when one has some desire and comes to Krishna, Krishna fulfills the desire, then devotee person again desires, again Krishna fulfills, again desires, again Krishna fulfills. Then slowly, steadily, that person's desires keep reducing, reducing, reducing. Then he'll think, Arey, Krishna is giving me everything. Why don't I am not giving anything to Krishna? Let me engage in Krishna's service. So this is the mercy of that Krishna gives even to sense gratifiers. Then like Dhruva Maharaj, he will refuse to accept any material benediction from the Lord. Swamin kritartosmi varam na yache. Dhruva Maharaj is saying, Swamin, Swami, Supreme Lord, kritarthosmi. I am indebted. Krithartho. Because you showed yourself, your glorious transcendental form. Varam nayache. I don't want any vara. I don't want any benediction. Therefore, even if one is materially inclined, one may take to the shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram or Gaur and Nitai, so that he will very soon be purified of all material desires. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashwat shantim nigachati. As soon as one is freed from inclination towards pious and impious activities, he becomes a perfect candidate for returning home back to Godhead. What does this mean? Very nice statement. As soon as one is freed from inclination toward pious and impious activities. When we come into Krishna consciousness, we are more engaged in impious activities, so we want to engage in pious activities. We are advised to engage in pious activities. But then, as we start doing devotion, even in 11th canto, Krishna says to Uddhava, don't get stuck in the good and bad of this world. It's very important to understand, actually, because eventually people get stuck in the bad of this world, meaning sometimes what happens is that there are bad things in this world. Like somebody is like, say, stealing, somebody is doing some, bodily harm to somebody, and this and that and all that. Now, what happens? Devotees, as they practice devotion, their hearts become slightly more. They become little more sensitive. They should become little more sensitive, but not materially sensitive to become attached to material things. Sensitive in the sense being aware of how they're affecting other devotees, how they're interacting with other devotees. See, one thing we should always remember, we should never take service from other devotees. Never. We are servants, we should give service to other devotees. And it might seem like, okay, it's okay. We're all together, we can take service, but not on a regular basis. We should not expect these from other devotees. We should try to serve. Of course, when there is a situation, we also tell, saying that, we request devotees to inform so that we can do the needful. But by ourselves, we should not try to take service from others. We should give service. So sometimes people become very much material. Prabhu, see, is suffering so much. What can we do for them? So we become, we come down to the material platform. Or somebody is doing wrong, we get agitated because of that, saying that, hey, see, how can he do wrong? Now, if you are getting too materially affected by good and bad of this world, we cannot come to the transcendental platform. We remain on the material platform. So somewhat like Krishna was also telling Arjuna, saying, don't worry too much about bad of this world. Just do whatever I'm saying. Because whatever Krishna is saying is above the bad of this world or above the good of this world. Whatever Guru says is above the good or bad of this world. We should not be so much stuck in the bad of this world. For example, Tirumangai Alvar. He built a temple for Krishna by the help of a Dacoit. He used a dacoit to get money for building Krishna's temple. So bad of the world. How can this be good? How can somebody do like this? It's the very biggest benediction that Tirumangai Alvar gave to all those people who were robbed, right? Because knowingly or unknowingly their money got used in Krishna's service. So devotees are very intelligent. Hmm. So we should not get stuck in the good and bad of this world. We should be stuck in the devotion to Krishna. That's all. That's our only consideration, nothing else. It will take some time. It's difficult to understand this because we might think that no, 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 how can we support the bad of this world? We're supposed to be devotees. Yes, not for ourselves, but for Krishna we can do anything. Nothing is wrong. Yeah, Ankita.
So, Prabhu, dacoit is still robbing the money from others, but I heard that in ISKCON, people who who make money by selling this liquor, non-veg and
Liquor
all.
in ISKCON.
Yes. No, no,
Okay.
no. People who donate, who
Ah,
sell,
people who donate. Okay. People who are in this business of liquor and meat and all that and who donate. Okay.
who donate. So
Hmm.
their money should not be used in offering prasadam to the Lord.
Ah, yeah, yeah. So yes, Ankita Mataji is saying that, like Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said this, saying that when you're in the temple and you're getting all kinds of donations, all kinds of donations come. Hmm. It might be sinful money also which comes. And he used to tell his disciples to chant 64 rounds, especially those who are in the ashram inmates who take prasadam in the temple. So he used to say that no, no, it is transcendental, but still you chant 64 rounds because sometimes even the devotees or cooking might not be in that good consciousness, right? Because if they're eating this, then their consciousness might get affected unless somebody is raised above all this, right? Very exalted souls. So he used to tell saying that ashram devotees living in ashram have to absolutely mandatorily chant 64 rounds because it can affect consciousness. Um, Yeah, which is true. Which is true. So, which is why the devotees who are cooking must be of the highest caliber. Because then, if their consciousness is strong, then they will make a perfect offering. Then Krishna will accept. Then there is no danger. But in general, we don't get such very exalted souls cooking. So then there is a chance of the contamination coming through. But that doesn't mean that we don't accept because there's a little risk, but that is just because of our what should you say, little bit lower standards in devotion. If high standards of devotion are maintained, anything can be purified. There's nothing like we should not accept. If we don't accept, then who will accept? Then how will that jiva get benefit? So we should accept, but we should also make sure that we maintain high standards of devotion so that contamination might not affect us.
What I heard is we will accept Prabhu, but we don't use that money for
No, we can't
offering.
say that. We can't say that. No, we don't separate money. We don't know which person has come and given money which is sinful. How can you separate it? You don't even
Mm.
know. Hundreds of people come and give donation. What do we know what they're doing? So there's no way to protect ourselves like that, saying that no, 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 I will use this money for something else only. Every money is tinted in Kali Yuga. There's nothing like good money. Right? So the whole point is that we have to maintain high consciousness in cooking and serving and then these things, the contamination of this material world will not affect us. But it's not practically possible to just separate out this money and for use and don't use this for buying groceries, don't use this for cooking. Even the person who is selling groceries from whom we might buy might be doing some third class stuff, right? So it's Kali Yuga, there is contamination everywhere. We have to just raise our standards of devotion instead of immediately trying to change the world. And if our standards are high, then we can take donations from such people and benefit them. Okay, 48, 49. Himsram dravymayam kamyam agnihotraadya ashantidam darshascha purnamasascha chaturmasyam pashu sutah etadishtam pravrittakhyam hutam prahutam evacha purtam suralaya rama kupajivyadi lakshanam. The ritualistic ceremonies and sacrifices known as Agnihotra Yagna, Darsha Yagna, Purnamasa Yagna, Chaturmasi Yagna, Pashu Yagna, Soma Yagna are all symptomized by the killing of animals and the burning of many valuables, especially food grains, all for the fulfillment of material desires and the creation of anxiety. And by doing this, we create anxiety. Performing such sacrifices, worshipping Vaishwa Deva, and performing the ceremony of Baliharana, which all supposedly constitute the goal of life, meaning it's not, but people think that it is the goal of life. As well as constructing temples for demigods, building resting houses and gardens, digging wells for the distribution of water, establishing booths for distribution of food, and performing activities for public welfare. These are all symptomized by attachment to material desires. So somebody is doing all this just for public welfare, saying, oh, they're homeless, let me give them home. Oh, they don't have food, let me give food. All material activities. People who do that are symptomized by attachment to material desires. How is that? Somebody is making a donation and Bhagavatam is saying that they are symptomized by attachment to material desires. Because only those who have a material consciousness will think materially. So if devotees see the same situation, somebody doesn't have a house, somebody doesn't have food, what will he do? He will give him food, which is prasadam, not simply some food. So devotees always see from a transcendental platform, and materialists who are pious, they see from a material platform. And when they're seeing from material platform, that means that their goal in life is also sense gratification. Because otherwise, there are only two types of desires. Either there's a material desire or a spiritual desire. So if somebody doesn't have spiritual desire, he has to have material desire. Some people have material desire saying that, I want to donate money and I want to become a big person. many times when we go to take, donation, and people say, will my name come on the temple? Yeah, it'll come. So like this, they have, even by that, they want to become famous. Anyway, so there's no purport to this. Dravya Sukshma Vipakascha Dhumo Ratrirapakshayah Ayanam Dakshinam Somo Darsha Oshadi Virudhaha Annam Reta iti Kshamesha Pitriyanam Punarbhavaha Ekaikasyenanupurvam Bhutva Bhutveha Jayate. My dear King Yudhishthira, when oblations of ghee and food grains like barley and sesame are offered in sacrifice, they turn into celestial smoke, which carries one to successively higher planetary systems like the kingdoms of Dhuma, Ratri, Krishnapaksha, Dakshinam, and ultimately the moon. So these are different Swarga kingdoms. Then, however, the performance of sacrifice descend again to earth to become herbs, creepers, vegetables, and food grains. These are eaten by different living entities and turned to semen, which is injected into female bodies. Thus, one takes birth again and again. So, this is the process of those who go to Swarga. They come down and become herbs, creepers, vegetables, and food grains. Then they are eaten by living entities, and according to whatever form of life they have to take, they will take birth again. Tetam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam kshine punye martyalokam vishanti evam tridharmam anu prapanna Gatagatam kama kama labante. Bhagavad Gita says, when those who follow the pravritti marga have enjoyed heavenly sense pleasure, they return to this material planet again. Thus, through the Vedic principles, they achieve only flickering happiness. Following the pravritti marga, the living entity who desires to be promoted to the higher planetary systems performs sacrifices regularly. And how he goes up and comes down again is described here in Srimad Bhagavatam as well as in Bhagavad Gita. It's also said, Traigunya Vishaya Vedaha. The Vedas deal mainly with the three modes of material nature. The Vedas, especially three Vedas, Sama, Yajur, and Rik, vividly describe the process of ascending to the higher planets and returning. Okay, Sama, Yajur, and Rik. But Krishna advises Arjuna, Traigunya Vishaya Vedanis Traigunya Bhavarjuna. One has to transcend these three modes of material nature and then one will be released from the cycle of birth and death. Otherwise, one may be promoted to a higher planetary system such as Chandraloka. Although one may be promoted to a higher planetary system such as Chandraloka, one must again come down. Shine Punya Martya Lokam Vishanti. After one's enjoyment due to pious activities is finished, one must return to this planet in rainfall. So Prabhupada is giving more details. So they return to this planet in the form of rain and take birth as a plant or creeper, which is eaten by various animals, including human beings, and turn to semen. This semen is injected into the female body, and thus the living entity takes birth. Those who return to earth in this way take birth, especially in higher families like those of Brahmanas, normally. It may be remarked in this connection that even the modern so-called scientists who are going to the moon are not able to stay there, but are returning to their laboratories. Therefore, whether one goes to the moon by modern mechanical arrangements or by performing pious activities, one must return to earth. Of course, Prabhupada elsewhere said they never went to the moon. But he's saying, okay, even if they have gone to moon, they can't stay there, they'll come back. That is clearly stated in this verse and explained in Bhagavad Gita. Even if one goes to the higher planetary systems, Yanti Deva Pratha Devan, one's place there is not secure, one must return to Martya Loka. Abrahma Bhuvana Lokaha Punaravartino Arjuna. Aside from the moon, even if one goes to Brahma Loka, one must return. Yam prapya na nivartante tadhama paramam mama. But if one goes back home, back to Godhead, one need not return to this material world. Okay. So we'll stop here. How many more verses are there in this chapter? Okay, still there are. Oh. Okay, so then we'll stop here. Any questions, comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Pranam,
So,
Prabhu.
the Prabhu question. So what is the possibility of a human, right? So going back to Vaikuntha planets versus the living entities in the higher planetary systems, right? Because I was reading Bhagavatam. I mean, it was mentioned that okay, so once we decrease our material desires, then we go to higher planetary systems. Then Lord engages us because this is still conducting of this material nature. Lord engages us in His service. But what is the possibility of probability in the sense, not possibility, probability of uh, us going back to Vaikuntha or like higher planets, spiritual planets versus the living entities in the higher planetary systems.
Okay, I mean, I can't comment on what is the probability because I've not heard any of our acharyas giving any probability number for this. But see, what is generally said is that if somebody doesn't go just to Swarga, because if one goes to Swarga, then, and if one goes to Swarga with the intention of sense gratification, then obviously there's no chance. But if one goes to Swarga because of misfiring of their devotion, meaning people ended up doing a lot of Mishra Bhakti here, and then they go up to Swarga, then there are chances that they can make progress. Now, but the interesting thing to think logically is that this Bhuloka is not as much sense gratifying as Swarga. And even in this Bhuloka, the devotees could not come to the platform of pure devotion. They remained on the platform of Mishra Bhakti, which means that they still had material desires. Now, what is the guarantee that they go to Swarga and actually give up material desires and becomes a pure devotee? Now, chances seem very remote. Obviously, there is a path which is given in the Shastra, so there is a possibility, but just logically thinking about it seems like pretty difficult.
So, I mean, Prabhu, because as per these verses, I mean, Krine Punye Matya Lokam Vishanti or Papya Punya Kritan Lokam, right? So, of these verses, like, looks like they are destined to come down.
No, but these verses are not for devotees who go up. These are for normal jivas. See, for devotees who go up by, like I said, by doing devotion, but Mishra Bhakti, that is the only way by which devotees go up. Generally, people who go to Swarga, they want sense gratification and then so Shine Punya. Because, see, from Swargaloka to Maharloka, the qualification is not higher sense gratification. The qualification is actually renunciation. So what happens is from Swarga you have to come down to earth, then perform austerities. You have to become, yeah, like some sage and do some jnana or something, and you not achieve perfection, or you have desire to see upper planets. You're renounced, but you still have some mixed desires like this. So then you can go to Maharloka, and then slowly you can gradually progress. But just going to Swarga, devotees going to Swarga, very difficult to say, but it just common sense to me says that it can be very difficult. It can be very difficult. So for this we have to read Brihad Bhagavatamrita. When there is a clear, where there is a clear description of who goes to Maharloka, who goes to Janaloka, what is the qualification, etc., then we can understand more clearly. But that is more for material advancement. I mean, people who want to go to higher planets and, for some different material desires. But devotees who did Mishra Bhakti here and went to Swarga, they might possibly continue to do Mishra Bhakti there because they couldn't come out of that Mishra devotion here. So what is the chances? Difficult question, I would say. But to me, it seems like tough. They might make progress, but where they will go from Swarga, whether they'll come back, become a devotee, and go to Maharloka, or whether they'll go from there only to Maharloka, it's unclear. It's unclear. But it's said that it's a gradual process of promotion from, the lower planet in the heavenly, higher planets to the highest. But how it
Yes.
actually happens is not clear. I'm not
Yes,
very
Prabhu,
clearly
because I
able to.
mean, for me, the confusion is because Krishna is saying in one hand that, yeah, see, in all these verses, yeah, you have to come down to the Matya, I mean, like this Matyaloka, or even Krishna is saying, yeah, Abrahma Bhuna Loka Punaravartinochna. And then at the same time, when they go to higher planet systems, they are directly, I mean, not directly in the sense, indirectly engaged in the activities because this material world is being conducted. So they are directly, in one way, directly related to Lord's service, but how come we're coming back again instead of
No,
going
no,
up?
again, I'm repeating the same thing that not all verses in Bhagavad Gita apply to all situations. A
Mm.
general comment is being made saying that those who are doing karma for punya for achieving higher planets go down and come back. Shine punya. Right?
Yes, yes,
Now,
yeah.
but then there could be demigods in the higher planetary systems who who continue to do devotion and also desire to remain in that position.
Mm.
No, they're not going to come back because they're doing some exalted work there. But they don't want
Yeah.
to go up also. So which is why I'm saying it's a pretty complex question. I don't think I'm qualified enough to answer this because I've not read any of our acharyas speaking so elaborately about this gradual progress upwards. So we'll have to see. Yeah, but my logic generally says that it could be tough to go back to Godhead, but it could be that Jiva might remain in Swarga only for a very, very, very long time like that. I don't know. Anyway, I'm speculating here. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Anything else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah. Hare Krishna
And,
Mataji.
Ma-
Pranam.
Pranam, Prabhuji. Mataji asked about the money we donated by butchers and all that. So in
Mm-hmm.
this regard, Prabhu,
Yeah.
once we were having a conversation with the Aram Prabhu regarding this.
Okay.
He said that the money which comes into the hundi, you can, as you said, we cannot say who's put in the money,
Yeah.
and how is it come, and then it's going to the because and then it's going to the service, it's going into the and whoever's put the is put it with an intent of like for the service of the Lord. He says that we cannot. He says the whole problem has started because we started going begging to liquor
Ah.
shops, butcher
Okay.
shops, and there your conscientiousness deteriorates. We should
Mm-hmm.
not accept money and for donation from these people.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Uh, uh, like like when we are asking for donation, we should see the patra in front and then
Okay.
to donation.
Okay. Yeah. This is another way of looking at it. But I know for a fact that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur had very clearly given instructions saying that there is possibility of contamination. So both are
Yeah.
possibly points to consider. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah. And like once Prabhu and Guru Maharaj was there, my son wanted to export onions, and
Oh,
somehow
okay.
so like that time a lot of and Guru Maharaj said, "Nai karam,"
Ah,
like it's
yeah.
you taken a lot of
Bad karma. Yeah.
he says, "Why you have to do this? Do export chiku?
Mm.
Don't."
Yeah. Thank you.
So,
Thank you. Yeah.
so this is.
Yeah. So business people also have to be clear, saying that don't take wrong ways to generate money, thinking that, some people have this reasoning saying that, oh, I'm anyway doing all this and offering everything to Krishna, so I can do any business. No. So we are clear from Acharya here. Shri Jaipatak Maharaj has clearly given us instruction that no, vritti has to be as pure as possible. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Okay. Anything else?
Pranam Prabhuji,
Yeah, Mataji.
just
Pranam.
1 minute, I'll take.
Yeah.
As Mataji said, we are not to accept money from that intoxicators and things like that.
No, like
Prabhuji, in the
you don't go to a bar or places like that to
okay,
take funds.
okay, that way. I was
Yeah.
thinking like the materialistic low people
No.
who are like
Materialistic people are
that
okay. No,
because how will they will be paying
they're
that?
all drunkards only.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Mataji's point was if they come voluntarily to give some money, then they are giving with some intention saying that this money should be used for Krishna, then possibly there is no, there's not much contamination. But either way, yeah, but that's the point. That's not about
Okay.
like not taking money from anybody who drinks. It's not like that.
Yes, yes, that is okay,
Yeah.
Prabhuji. Thank you.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Prabhu, with respect to the same thing, so now when we are doing
People are
for the
so
temple
hooked on to
construction,
drunkards. Yeah.
so the temple construction, when we are actually collecting money and when we know their profession is wrong, so
Yeah.
should we approach them or we should not approach, Prabhu?
We should not approach them. That's what it looks like. So we have to be careful. If somebody is in a bad profession, then better not ask them for funds.
Okay,
And
Prabhu.
bad means really like ugra, like here, like very sinful. Everybody's involved. Everybody's business has some sin involved. But if they're like directly grossly sinful, better not.
Okay, Prabhu. But again, what is an option or way for them to purify, Prabhu?
They have
In
to
that.
willingly give. So you should not try to convince them for. You can just say, okay, we are building a temple. That's all. And let them only come
Okay.
and give. It should come from their heart, basically. That's what it is.
Okay. They should have an intent.
Yeah, they should have an intent to serve.
Okay.
Sometimes, we go and we keep beg, and somebody says, okay, take, because they're not like even, they don't have such good heart. But because we are begging and we are come as sadhus, they'll just give something and say, go. That we should avoid. That's the point. But we can inspire them, and say, okay, see, this is great. Then they might, if they willingly come and give, okay, we'll take.
Okay, Prabhu.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. I think we'll close. श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु शिल प्रभुपाद की जय, समवेत गौरवक्तम की जय। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यो च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमानन्द कोटि वैष्णवन्द की जय, समवेत गौरवक्तवृन्द की जय। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna.